So to open this session today, we are going to talk obviously about human sustainability, and I will tell you what I think human sustainability is. For those of you who were there yesterday or the day before, the last 2 days, we covered two main topics. The first one was about hiring and recruiting and how we can do that in a human sustainable way. And yesterday we talked about onboarding people. And on the first day in his keynote, Anton mentioned stress and how we can manage stress better so that we can do our job better, have a better life, and use stress to our advantage. We have the stress that is giving us positive energy and who keeps us motivated. And then we have the stress that on the opposite is bringing damage to our health and makes us being angry or depressed, burned out, etc. So it was about how to manage stress and to be able to be human sustainable. And yesterday, Kevin in his keynote talked also about human sustainability and about servant leadership, how we can be more human at work, how we can empower people, collaborate with them, motivate them and unite them so that, again, we can work better together. So today it's my turn to talk about human sustainability and what it means to me. And if I have to summarize what is human sustainability in one word, well, to me, human sustainability is diversity. Well, my role in Prospective Force in this initiative is to ensure that we embrace diversity and we are as inclusive as possible, that we attract people, that we help and support people that are as diverse as we can. It doesn't matter where they are coming from, the country they're coming from, the language they speak, the gender they have, the age they have, the religion, their background, education, etc. We as a company want to include everybody, and this is part of our human sustainability. And myself, for those of you who don't know me or who are joining us here today for the first time, as Anton said, I'm based in Luxembourg, I'm French, and I've been living in 6 different countries. I've been an expatriate for more than 25 years. And diversity has always played a big part in my life. As I said, I've worked in international companies, big international companies like Amazon. I have managed and led international teams with people from different cultures, different countries, different ages. And every single time I have seen how powerful diversity can be. When you have diverse teams, you have the best teams, because that is when you have all types of ideas, opinions, feedback that all come together. And this is what makes teams strong, is the fact that you're bringing all these insights together to achieve goals. This is leading and managing international teams, whether they are face-to-face or virtual, can be challenging, but you are learning so much, because having people around you that are diverse to you can really open your mind, can broaden your horizon, can give you ideas. And so it's very important to know how to manage, to lead, and to communicate, to be able to get the best out of your team. So, diversity and human sustainability. What can we do to become more diverse and more inclusive? Well, what we need to do to be more diverse and inclusive starts with our way of thinking. We need to make sure we keep an open mind. We need to ensure that we listen more to others, that we accept and respect everybody's opinion and feedback. The great leaders are great communicators, and great communicators are great listeners. And that is why leaders listen. They ask questions. They know that they don't know everything, because anyway, when you think about it, there is nobody on this planet that knows everything about everything. But leaders listen. They ask questions. They know they are as strong as their team, and that's why it's important that they hire the best people. And when I say the best people, I don't mean the people with the most credentials, with the biggest experience. No. What I mean is hiring people who have the potential, who have the personality, who are motivated, and who just want to be given a chance to show what they can do, to develop themselves, to grow, to thrive, and so that they in turn can become leaders. Leaders, again, they listen because they never assume. They know that what is obvious for them may not be obvious for someone else. And that is why they keep asking questions, they keep listening. And by doing so, they are being more inclusive and more open and more human. We can also be more diverse and inclusive in our way dealing with people. We need to surround ourselves with people that are different from us. Whether we talk about gender, nationalities, cultures, religions, age, background, sexual orientation, education, personality, etc. We need to look above and beyond what is familiar to us. And this is how we can use each other's strength and use it to everybody's advantage. This is, as I said, how the best team works. They use the strength of everybody. They make that team synergy, like I mentioned yesterday in my presentation, to make sure that everybody can be the best at what they do, and so that people achieve goals, that the team achieve the goals and go above and beyond what's expected from them. And this is how, as well, when you gather all the strengths and you gather diverse people, that you come up with new products, new services, and that's how you can help even more people. And finally, as well, we can also be more diverse and more inclusive, as we said, when we recruit, onboard, and develop people. And the development part will be covered by Anton in a few minutes. We have seen that to be humanly sustainable, we need to treat people as human beings and not just as checkboxes. When we onboard them and develop them and recruit them the right way, we know that people will see that we care for them and that we go above and beyond what is expected from them. So by doing all those things, by keeping this in mind, this is how we can be more diverse, more inclusive, and therefore more humanly sustainable. So basically, diversity is therefore about dealing with change. And this year has been a great example for all of us. We have been in a situation that we have never been in before, and we all had to adapt. Many people had to work from home, and that was a new situation. We had managers who suddenly couldn't micromanage their people, but had to start to empower their team members and trust them to get the job done. And we also had the team members who themselves needed to find a way to work from home. There was a new dynamic. And for some people, that meant finding new ways to work at home while they also had children to take care of. And in other cases, that also meant that some people were working from home and were alone all the time. And this is where the leaders need to make sure that they know that everybody is different, everybody's situation is different, and therefore that change is felt differently by everybody. And that's when people start to show that they care and that they support their team members, then again, people will feel cared for, will be motivated, and will go and beyond to achieve the goals or the whatever they need to achieve. So we've seen what we can do to be more diverse and inclusive, but how can we be more diverse and inclusive? Well, to me, there are two main areas on how we can be that. The first one is communication. And to me, communication is key. This is where we have to become and be more effective communicators. Again, as I said before, we first need to listen more instead of always talking. But we also need to ask ourselves lots of questions. Am I communicating clearly and precisely? Am I being consistent in my message? Am I saying things that everybody can understand? Am I respectful all the time? Am I using the right media to communicate? Or maybe I'm using too many emails or written communication. Am I communicating frequently enough with my team members, with my clients, with my colleagues, or even with my family? Do I start with my audience? Do I know the situation they are in? Do I pay attention to cultural differences? And do I take them into account? Do I pay attention to people who are not native speakers of my language? Am I not speaking too fast? Am I not using too many words or abbreviations or expressions that maybe some of them may not know? Do I pause, observe, and listen? And do I give a chance to people to provide me with feedback or ask me questions? Am I being too direct? All of these questions are very important for us to improve our ways of communicating. And another area that we may not always think of, but that is critical in communication, is also the body language. As you may know, body language accounts for 55% of the communication. So it's very important as well that we do not underestimate that area. Obviously, when we are face to face, it is much easier to communicate with our body and to look at people more face to face. But we still have to be mindful, and back to what I was saying about cultural differences and being aware of that, we have to make sure that we are maybe not too close to certain people, or maybe in some cultures we need to be a bit back, because again, they may feel like you're intruding their space. So being mindful and being aware of all of that is very important. But body language as well is critical now in a virtual world like we are right now. Even though we cannot see the whole body, it's very important that again you engage with your people, that you look at them and that you observe. This is how you are going to see whether they are engaged, they are interested, and they are not bored. And if you see that some people are maybe lost or do not understand what you're saying or feel uninterested, again, stop, ask questions, and that will allow you to either continue the way you are doing, or that will allow you to make some changes. So again, to make sure that again, that the person who is in front of you is relating to your message and understands what you want to convey. So communication is a big part on how we can be more humanly sustainable and be more inclusive. But the other part as well, to me, the second component that is critical And it's a word that we have used many times during these 2 days, and it's the word balance. Balance, we have heard about the work-life balance, and that's probably not the right expression because work is part of life. But for me, the work-life balance, it means that's a situation where employees are happy, are motivated, are enthusiastic to go to work, are thriving, and are achieving goals that have been set. It's where employers treat their employees with respect. They treat them as human beings and not just as check boxes, and that they care for the well-being of their employees. And it's also work-life balance to me. It's also where people are treated equally, no matter where they're coming from, no matter where their gender, age, nationality, etc. These last 2 days, we have seen it with recruiting and onboarding. We saw that we should not treat people as a checkbox, but that everybody is different and everybody is human, and that we need to take into account the potential and the personality of people. It's all about giving and taking. As employers, we should not only take what people are giving us, but we should also give and make sure, again, they have a balanced workload. And finally, is the balance, again, in diversity, making sure we don't only have one type of people working for us, but we are surrounded by people who have a diverse background and are diverse from us. I chose this picture as well because it means to me other things. It's the balance as well between the leader and his or her team. It shows that a leader is only as good as his team, as I often say. And so the leader, it needs to start with himself or with herself. He or she needs to lead by example. He or she needs to walk the talk. He should encourage his or her team members to take breaks, to relax so that they are not too overwhelmed and become too stressed. All the time when I've managed and led team, what I've done when I was going on holiday was telling my team members, I'm not working during my holiday. I am not checking my emails. If you want to reach me, and if you have an emergency, call me or send me a message and I will call you back. But I need to take a break to recharge my batteries and come back fully refreshed. And I was telling them as well to do the same thing. I was telling them, I don't want you to work during your holiday. I want you to relax, to enjoy your time with your family, with your friends, do whatever you want to do, but make sure you relax. And it's the same, if there is an emergency or if there is an information I need and I cannot find anywhere else, I will call you, but it will really be because I have no other choice. So leaders need to be the example for their team members and encourage them to find the right balance. This is how you can keep people motivated and making sure that they enjoy coming to work. Back to the leader as well and the team, it's also balancing between what needs to be achieved now, the goals that need to be achieved, but also looking at the long-term vision. What will I be doing with my team in 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years? And what role will I need to fill in? How can I identify a potential, someone who can fill in that future role? Or maybe if I am a leader and I also want to grow myself, I will need someone to replace me. So it's about having this strategic vision and making sure that I, as a leader, will work with my team member, identify the persons who are interested in growing and who have the potential to take over that job. And finally, this picture for me is a balance for ourselves. We, as leadership, always starts by ourselves. We need, again, to show the example, and we need to self-lead ourselves. We need to find the right balance between the body, the mind, and the spirit. And we need to make sure that we stay healthy mentally, physically at all times. Because it's only when we are mentally and physically healthy that we can not only help ourselves, but we can also help others, whether they are our family members, our team members, our colleagues, or our customers. Remember, when you are in a plane, they ask you to put your mask first before helping others. And that's the same with leadership. We need to take care of ourselves first. We need to be our number one priority. And this is not selfish. This does not negate the feelings for others, but it's also not negotiable. By starting with ourselves again, this is when we can be the best version of ourselves and be the best leader that we can be, so that we can help others. So find the balance in your life and in your work, and make sure that you also provide balance to others around you. So to conclude, I always like to finish with a quote, and I would like to finish with this one from Rosalind Carter. Do what you can to show you care about other people, and you will make our world a better place. So I would like to ask our audience here today, please come and join us. Join our movement, Human SOS, and help us make the workplace a better world. Thank you.
You had a number of comments, and you were moving along so well. I didn't jump in there, but we had a couple of comments from Joe Soon to talking about not being machines, and that that we are particular entities organically articulated. And then Jimmy commented that we need to be considerate, lead from the front, translate positivity to the team.
Absolutely. Great comments. Thank you very much. Yes, sorry, I was in my speech focusing.
Oh, you were flowing there. We were all enjoying.
Thank you. Great. So are there any more comments or questions about what I said?
I wanted to say something.
Go on.
Well, I am especially involved with sustainable development. I worked for the last 6 years in developing models for sustainable development. Mm-hmm. And for me, I very much agree with you in seeing communication as one of the main keys. And then one of the biggest challenges we have pending, and one of the let's say the realms in which we have to put higher attention. But on the other hand, when you say diversity, for me, diversity means biodiversity, not diversity. So our problem in what concerns sustainability is not only that we are having problems to accept our own diversity, the natural diversity we have, mm-hmm. but we are also ignoring that we are part of the nature diversity. So we are one of the natural species on the world. So we should learn to look at ourselves as the kind of neighbors that are bothering all the other species in the world, and maybe they kick us off if we continue being so unpolite and unrespectful. Yeah. So when you talk about biodiversity, for me, the main point about diversity, for me, the main point is to change and replace that word for biodiversity and come into a wider view of that fact. Yeah. And then when you say diversity, immediately you are going into inclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I say as a sustainability consultant, my goal is that we still do not know what is the real meaning of sustainability. We are trying to go there, but we don't know what it means. We haven't been there ever. So then what we know is what make us unsustainable. So what I say is that let's talk about how to reduce unsustainability instead of how to gain sustainability. Because it's much easier to create strategies on something that you can take with your hands and make measurements on and approach in a practical way, like unsustainability, because you can see if your key factors of unsustainability are progressing in going down or are progressing in going up.
If I may jump in on that one real quick, it's yes, you are correct. We need to pay attention to avoiding what we're doing poorly. But we kind of covered this on day one, and we talked about, do we want to make something that is, or do we make something that's not? Right? When you're creating something, when you're trying to create something, you're going to make it something. You're not going to build something to not be something. And the way that you kind of positioned it right now, you're saying, don't do unsustainable things. Sure, that's part of the solution. But then how do we reframe those things that we were doing unsustainably and reframe them in a sustainable way? We can't just stop doing something without having a replacement for the trigger or for the behavior that we were doing.
And
for me, let me answer to Anton, okay? For example, if I go back to the argument that we were listening about diversity in relation with inclusivity. Let's imagine that I say we get to gain sustainability, I have to gain inclusivity. Okay? So then to reduce unsustainability, I have to reduce exclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you reduce exclusion, clearly you are gaining sustainability because you are losing unsustainability.
Yes, absolutely. But up to a certain level, right? So you're, say, on a scale of 1 to 10 of how sustainable somebody can be, by avoiding unsustainability, you may get to 6, but you're never going to be at 10 because you're missing the positive ads that need to go in there. You're just avoiding things. You're not necessarily optimizing things.
Well, this is my best goal. I mean, I
No,
don't
and that's a
think I
great
have
start.
the solution.
Trust me. If we as a society, as organizations, as the world, as everybody around us, if we just stopped living unsustainably, we probably wouldn't have to have this conversation. But because we're coming from creating competitive advantage for organizations, there's also that component there. We don't just say, stop doing unsustainable things. Now let's look at sustainability as a way for you to gain competitive advantage against your competition. So that's why you have to also chase sustainability instead of just avoiding sustainability.
yeah, one of the things to remind everyone is, we're looking at a topic that is huge, and it's part of a movement that we are creating. And so we're spending 12 hours on something that will take days, weeks, even months to address fully, and we have to consider all elements of it, certainly.
And I love your comments, Jason. They're spot on.
Yeah.
Like I love that you're engaging, and I can see how passionate you are about this, right? You're like, hey, let's not talk the big talk. Let's just stop doing the basic things that we're doing, and we can start, stop doing today. And you're spot on. There's absolutely things that each one of us can stop doing today as leaders. And to your point, right? I used an analogy in the first presentation, and are you familiar with Beauty and the Beast, the story of the Beauty and the Beast?
Yes, of course.
It's a Disney story, right?
Yes.
So the beast protects this flower. Once the flower expires and all the petals fall off the flower, the beast will be a beast forever, and the story is done. So I use the analogy of how a leader needs to protect their employee like they are a flower like that. They can't overuse them. They can't use up their energy, expend their, resources and be wasteful with their employees, because that flower will expire much faster than it should. So to your point, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Great comment, Josune. Thank you very much. It's a different way of looking at things, and you're right. We all should combine these things together. That's great. Cool. So I think we are at our first break.